Well, talking about the numbers, Brian, the numbers have gotten ridiculous, just ridiculous, as Corey Macklin would say, on the pay scale side. But they're also ridiculous on the grosses side. But they're also sometimes ridiculous on the publicly released attendance figures side. And there has been a revision to the All in Texas with the big stadium show. There's been a revision based on public documents that were given out by the city, because now Tony's playing the game. He's getting, what do you call it, a rights fee, a site fee. He's getting money from the local government to bring his show to the local municipality and bring all these tourists and all these spectators. But whereas the WWE has these major cities bidding against each other, and the Saudis kidnapping WrestleMania, and all these major stadiums chucking in millions of dollars. Apparently, Tony went to the city of Arlington, I guess, and said, hey, that's where it is, Arlington, right? The stadium?
That's right.
You already might think in Texas Stadium.
Yeah,
it used to be.
And that's where they did a residency last summer, too.
Yeah, well, they went to Arlington and they got the stadium, but they got paid an amount or agreed to be paid an amount depending on a certain attendance, and they didn't hit that figure. So instead of getting $1 million, they have to settle for like 70% of $1 million or whatever, because they didn't hit the attendance figure. But in revealing that information, they revealed how many people were there, and it's about 7,000 light of what everybody else was saying, according to what I'm doing from memory. Do you have actual figures there?
Yeah, I have something here from WrestleNomics, and I believe Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics is the one who broke this story. He's the one who was actually writing to the local government there, looking for the information. Overestimated attendance will result in lower funding, but AEW will still get hundreds of thousands in reimbursements. AEW All in Texas qualified for public reimbursement dollars through the Texas Event Trust Fund program.
So, by the way, your tax dollars are now going to support the starving AEW wrestlers.
According to records obtained by WrestleNomics, the governor's office initially approved just over $1 million in combined state and local funding to help cover expenses for AEW's biggest event of the year. AEW will end up getting somewhat less than that amount because attendance for the event at Globe Life Field in Arlington was lower than expected. The funding was based on an estimated attendance of 33,490, including 32,500 spectators, and that was a projection from February. Let's stop there. You would have to think Texas isn't saying, here's what we project. This is them working in conjunction with Tony Khan, Chris Harrington, AEW, and coming up with what they thought was a reasonable number that February, this past February, I guess.
Yes.
To get people in there. You know, what do you think of that? I mean, would anyone have made that projection in February who was following AEW in their attendance?
I don't. Well, besides, did Uncle Dave ever say they were going to do that much? He would have probably been the one. But again, you're pulling a number out of your ass, really, whenever you extrapolate a show that far out of what it's going to do in any company in wrestling. So they were just hopefully a little smoking a little of the hopium, and they didn't want to go too far, because then the city would say, well, where else have you done these type of things? Well, Wembley. Where else? Well, Wembley. So I think they tried to make it something probably that was still get them some money and that they thought might be achievable, but at the same time wouldn't raise any red flags where the city was going to delve into it for more information. But they ended up, Tony was claiming it would be 29,000 at the end of the show. Oh, it all said and done, about 29,000 people.
That's right.
And I think the ticket sales were actually 27,000, but that includes tickets distributed, including tickets sold. But the point is, how many did the state now or the city or whoever's issuing this document, how many did they say actually were there in the building now?
The number in the building, according to the official documents, the actual attendance was 23,759, including 21,973 spectators.
So when we get the 23 figure, that includes all of the employees and crew people, everybody else, and the total number of humans in the building and spectators was just under 22,000. So it still is a hell of a crowd. Yay.
Yeah.
But the problem is that now we see what were tickets sold originally reported as? Was it up to 27 something thousand?
WrestleTix said that. WrestleTix said it was 27,000 and change.
Was that sold or distributed?
Distributed.
Okay. Because what's happening is there is always a percentage of a live event, a concert, a football game, whatever people buy tickets to. Even if it's sold out, there's a certain percentage of people who will not, for whatever reason, not show up. Fucking can't get a babysitter, got sick, got run over on the fucking interstate, whatever it is. And that's normal with any event. And I think we've illustrated in the past when we've talked about big show attendance and versus this and that a lot of times it can be 8 or 10%, 8, 10, 12% thereabout when you have a big event and you're dealing with multiple people coming from different, more far off places. But going from 27,000 distributed to 22,000, that's 5,000. That's about 20%. That would be heavy.
And that night, Tony Khan said 29,000 he thought it would be.
Well, yeah, when all was said and done. Well, all's been said and done, and it wasn't. But the point I'm making is, I think a lot of those are comps that they had out that people got the tickets for free and weren't that motivated and didn't come. And the only reason there's that many comps is either if you're going to die and you just got to get people in there, or you've gotten a ton of advertising. But to have, 22 and that 21,973 is still a spectator number instead of paid attendance, right? That's the paid attendance was not they weren't working with the payment they make from the government on a paid attendance. It was the amount of people. And that may be another reason why they threw out a bunch of fucking tickets. Like, get people in here because then we're going to lose this $1 million or a portion of it.
Remember my idea last week of Tony Khan buying 500,000 smart TVs to help himself with the new ratings methodology? Maybe Tony Khan went and bought 6,000 tickets and just said, just in case I need them.
Well, and in all honesty, he's taking money from his left pocket and putting it in his right pocket.
Exactly.
So, but nevertheless, they still did a lot of people, but we don't know how many were paid, but they didn't do nearly as many as they claimed they did.
They also didn't do nearly as many events as they promised Arlington, because apparently there's a whole schedule of events, including CMLL and Ring of Honor and all these different things. And yeah, they had a whole series of events planned and not everything happened. So it's not even just they didn't hit their attendance, marks. They didn't hit the event marks. They didn't hit all the things that they promised they were going to do. This is the first time we've really heard about this with AEW in North America. If they've done it in other places, I don't think we've ever seen any of the data. But this doesn't look good if you underdeliver. If anything, you want to promise less and overdeliver.
Underperform.
In February of this past year, things were so dead. I could be wrong because I'm just thinking off the top of my head. I remember things being so dead that we would have been shocked if they got 20,000 there. I think that was kind of like 15, 20,000. It felt dead.
Wasn't that about the period of time where they were in the music hall in Cincinnati and, some other small facility? But the point is, again, it's another example of real numbers coming out that don't make wrestling look as hot as even we might have thought it was here. And whether it's Tony's inflated attendances or the bottom dropping out of the ratings market with the new systems or whatever, it's, it don't look good. Just everything was sunshine, lollipops, rainbows, and waterfalls back several months ago, and now it's just all going to hell in a handbasket, as Mama Cornette used to say. I don't know. Have you got any TKO stock, Brian?
I do not have any TKO stock. That stock has done well, actually, though.
Yeah, but see, what goes up must come down. What must rise must also fall.
Notice AEW doesn't talk about Arthur Ashe Stadium anymore. That seems to be a thing that they'll never do again. But anyway, go back to you. I'm sorry.
Well, I heard they were renovating that place. There's renovations going on there. They're turning it into a peep show after the AEW fans found out where it was. The regular tennis snooty snobs from the tennis people won't go there anymore. So they're turning it into a adult theater and a peep show booth so they can get the AEW crowd back in. But nevertheless, what I was about to say was, what we'd all need to do, Brian, is we need to tighten our belts. We need to figure out ways to do things differently. Because the wrestling promotions now, they're trying to squeeze every dollar they can out of us. And at the same time, so is everybody else. And at the same time, the shit has never been worth watching for free any more than it is right now. You know how we're going to be able to do that, Brian? Have you figured out where I'm going with this?
I have not figured it out, and I can't wait to see what it's like to get there.
Well, I'll tell you what, you don't have to jump the shark. You got to surf the shark. Surfshark VPN, our brand new friends, folks. If you think that the wrestling companies have jumped the shark with how much they're trying to charge you and make you pay and the hoops that you have to jump through just to watch their programming, then you got to surf the shark and go to our friends at surfshark.com because they have the key. Not only we've established that the smart TVs and the smart stoves, the smart refrigerators, the smart microwave, and I'm looking at you, you fucking can opener. I don't trust my fucking can opener. I think it's the one that got my toaster pregnant. But all of them are talking to each other and they're talking about us. Well, you need a VPN to protect you because all you got to do is sign up with the folks at Surfshark. And then not only, Brian, will you be able to protect your identity and secure your privacy, but also you'll be able to tell these streaming companies where you want them to be that they think you are, or potentially where you want to be that you want to make them think you are. Point is, you don't have to be in Canada, folks, to get the commercial-free WWE on the Canadian Netflix. You can just tell Surfshark to tell these greedy son of a bitches that you're in Montreal or Vancouver or maybe even Saskatoon, and then you can watch WWE commercial-free. And the WWE bots won't be able to come through the signal into your smart TV and then impregnate your wife with demon seeds from the alien planets above and steal all your money by stealing your identity by creating an entire clone of your whole family.
You were making so much sense a minute ago, and then it kind of took a turn there. But yeah, this is a great way. We've talked so much about what a hassle it is to access WWE events all over the world right now because they're on this platform or that platform. This is a way to mitigate that and just say, hey, I'm Canadian.
Yeah.
And you got to say
they get all the good stuff.
That's right. Canadian Netflix and all sorts of content you're blocked out of. You're not on their schedule. They're on your schedule. Decide what you want to see and when you want to see it. And this is a great deal for the listeners, especially with WWE. As we're recording, Crown Jewel Perth is coming up, 8 a.m. on the East Coast. What a pain in the butt. But now with Surfshark, I guess I would still watch it at 8 a.m., but I can watch it on whatever platform I can watch.
Surfshark will not help you change the time of day. You got to go
so
to a
good.
completely different site for that. I know they're good, but it is just not their area of expertise. But at the same time, folks, that you can watch all of this content that we all talk about on the wrestling programs, you can protect your privacy from all these snoopy people because they are a VPN, and the P stands for privacy and the V stands for very privacy network. That's what it means in my world. So again, folks, if you want to be safe and secure, if you don't want your family to be the victims of international online terrorists that are going to come through your walls and come out your plugs and kick your dog, and if you want to watch a bunch of WWE and you don't have to admit who you are, they'll think some Swahili warrior in Switzerland is watching the show instead of you. So you could, like when you watch porn, for heaven's sake, just down low.
You started off
where
making
nobody
sense,
knows,
and then you just went completely off the rails. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get
secure
real.
your privacy with Surfshark. Go to surfshark.com/JCE. Use the code JCE at checkout, and you're going to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN. When you sign up for the year, you're going to get 4 extra months. That means you get, most years have 16, except if Surfshark changes the months in the year. Most years have 12 months, so you get 4 extra months. You get 16 months. Well, that's good. 4 of them you don't pay for. That's gratis.
Oh, my God.
That means you pay nothing.
Ladies and gentlemen, this
30-day money-back guarantee.
Yes.
Surfshark. I can't say it enough. And the code JCE. I can say that some more. And 4 months extra on the end of the month you're already going to pay for. So, and they're going to charge you for those. It's a whole goddamn great deal all the way around.
It's a great deal all the way around. Tell TKO you don't care what kind of media deals they sign. You got your own deal. And that's with Surfshark VPN.
Sign a deal with Surfshark, and you'll never spend money on trying to engage in international confusion again. I can say that without fear of contradiction.
Jim, one more time. That promo code.
Surfshark.com/JCE. Use the code JCE at checkout to get the 4 extra months. And I mentioned the 30-day money-back guarantee. And also protect your children, Aunt Alice, Cousin Bop, all those people in your family from being invaded from forces outside your environment.
That's right, Surfshark. We welcome them to the family. You'll be hearing more about them in the weeks to come. But Jim, you heard those nice tones before. That means back to you. It's your show.